Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time you're watching this back, if you're live with us or watching on the replay. Either way, let us know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Big shout out to you guys for watching back on the replay. Appreciate you coming here. And hello to everyone who's just tuning in live. I'm Duncan. You probably already know me. That's Sarah. You probably know her better. And that's Debs. She's really awesome too. And right now, at the moment, there's a bit of a funk going on in a lot of places. A lot of people are just feeling a bit about stuff, and it's understandable. So we've had this big, obviously we've had the whole lockdown thing, and that was a big situation. And obviously throughout that, a lot of people were struggling with their mindset around a lot of things. And in the early stages of it, Sarah and I have spoken about this before, and I'm sure Debs will say that she's had similar experiences. There were people that did amazing things, that were really resilient and resistant, jumped on and really found some opportunities to make it their own and to do something amazing with it. And there were other people who really understandably struggled with everything that was going on. And the difference was very much about, everyone had their own personal situations and circumstances, but the people that approached it with the right mindset were able to do some amazing things with it. Particularly specifically in Sarah's team, there was a huge shift as that went on, as more and more people got on board with the excitement and the new opportunities that were created through what was, of course, a very difficult time for a lot of people. But it was amazing to see that transformation and those people turn around and actually start to make it their own and do something powerful with it. Right now, we've got to a stage where at least then we had it felt like there was more of an end in sight. It was a temporary thing. It was a hiccup. There was the excitement of it being new and what we could do differently in this situation as the world was changing, and we had to adapt and adjust. But now it's kind of old hat, isn't it? All of these changes, all of this new stuff feels a bit kind of blur. And yet we're still restricted from some of the stuff we used to do and we want to do and would love to do. And we're still not able to do some of the things we'd love. But we've done a lot of adjusting to find the benefits from the situation that we've been through. So it's completely understandable. And you're not alone if right now you're feeling a little bit deflated, I guess, by the whole thing. So that's what we're here to talk to you about today, to try and help give you some thoughts and ideas of how you can turn that around and how actually there are still some amazing opportunities right now, and it doesn't have to all be doom and gloom. If you're feeling down, that's okay, you're allowed. But when you're ready to turn that around, if you want to move forward and achieve great things, that opportunity is still there for all of you, and that's what we're going to help you with hopefully today. So shout out to those people that are saying hi. We've got Marie, can't wait for the giggles. There'll be plenty of them, I'm sure, especially with these two on. Hi Facebook user from Costa, thanks for letting me know where you're from. Hello Elia, good morning Hannah. You got the time of your coaching all wrong, so you're here. Yes, excellent, that worked out well. Good morning Marianne and other Facebook user. And bleh is definitely a great way of describing it. I completely agree.
I agree too.
Bleh, haven't they? A lot of people have done that bleh stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Hannah has spelled bleh correctly. I think that's
totally correctly.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my waffly introduction over, which gave Sarah time to finish eating her toast. So I'll hand back over to her now.
Hey, thank you for allowing me to eat my breakfast. I have to admit, 20 minutes ago, I was sat in the bath messaging Kerry Gibbs and then just went, shite, I meant to be on a Zoom and doing a live in 20 minutes. So I'm a little bit derailed and back on track. But I think actually your summary there, Duncan, despite being thrown completely into the deep end, was pretty freaking spot on. Like, absolutely. I think we had with it was almost, exciting is going to seem like a crazy word, but when it all first kicked off, it was all so new and sudden and different that it was all like, oh, what do we do? Oh, we're going to be locked down. I can learn to play piano. I can learn to play guitar. We can write books. We can and some people executed that brilliantly, and other people still never really did it because it was never going to be a priority for them anyway. So even when you had all the time in the world to do it, you're still not going to do the thing you thought you wanted to do because actually it's not what you wanted to do. But it was sunny as well. We had summer. You could sit out in the garden and have a barbecue. The sun was bearing down. You caught up with family and people you hadn't spoken to for such a long time because, you know, you had the time to do it and you wanted to check in and see how they were. And there was a whole process of new stuff going on. And for my world, Osborne was blinking crazy, as you pointed out. You know, people's charts went off the scale, sales volume went through the roof because everyone was homeschooling. And it was just a little bit crazy. And now, as you say, we've got to the point where I feel like people have lost a little bit of hope. I feel like before they had this as temporary, we're going to do this, let's make the most of this situation, and then we're going to come out of it the other side. And everything's changing on a daily basis, as it has been for a while. But one day you're allowed out, the next you're back in lockdown. Is James watch? So yeah, James is on tier 3 lockdown. James, I haven't told you about your MailChimp gifts yet. I forgot to message James last night. But yeah, so I think now we're in a point of like, as you say, blur of like, where's the hope gone? When's it going to end? When we're going to get out of here? We're not homeschooling, so we don't need, not everyone needs all the books anymore. We're in this like bubble of what comes next, and I think that's really starting to hit a lot of people. Which is why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to point out that that's okay, myself included. Definitely hit a point of burning out. Definitely, I'm now living on vitamin tablets and lots of sleep to try and recuperate myself. But it's okay to feel like that. But you also don't have to feel like that. There are some things you can work on yourself, aren't there, to still move forward, to bring back that own hope within your own world. Find those consistencies despite the whole world changing, and learn to sort of be kind to yourself and move forward. That's my view on it. So before we cover some of those steps and what we could do, Debs, how are you? What do you feel is going on at the moment?
There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. We had to stay in. I've never called it lockdown. I've always called it staying in, because lockdown for me,
the framing of the word is terrible.
It was so oppressive. It did my head in from the beginning. So I've always called it staying. I'm staying in because it just sounds a lot more pleasant. And I use that all the way through. So we had to stay in. Then we could go out. And then we could go out a bit more. And then we're having to stay in again. So start saying staying in, because that helps. A really good thing is to have a good support system. So Sarah and I were talking the other day about, we've been and I know Duncan has from conversations with Duncan as well. We've been the people that have been there supporting people who are struggling throughout this whole time. And probably at some point we've not looked after ourselves at some point either. So this week I was feeling the blur, and Sarah earlier on in the week was feeling blur. So when she was feeling blur, I was there. I know Duncan was there as well. When I was feeling blur, Sarah took the phone straight away. Yeah.
You were there being helpful. I was just teasing her.
Yeah, but we know that puts a smile on her face anyway, so that's all good. But the thing is it's okay to feel blur. Now, I don't know about you. I've always been told better out than in. So if I need to cry, just cry, crack on and cry, get it out. So that's helpful. I hate crying in front of people. So Sarah was subjected to that the other day. But actually, there are things that you can glean out of that. So for me, I've only met Sarah during this staying in period. We only met sort of in week 3 or something online. And the thing that you can gain from this is that the fact that I allowed myself to cry in front of Sarah means that already in this short period of time, I've gained a lot of trust with Sarah, which is an amazing thing, because there aren't many people that are privileged to me blubbering.
I rarely cry in front of anyone. I think both of you have been subjected to that. Yeah. So.
I know, it's right, isn't it? But the thing is it's okay. It's okay to have times where you're feeling a little bit low, but have a support system in place. Have a support system in place so that you've got people that you can speak to. And I also volunteer for Shout, which is a text service for people who feel in crisis. And so quite a lot of times I direct people who are feeling in crisis to Shout, and the text number, all you do is text Shout to 85258. And I know that some people, that like ex-students of mine and things like that, in the middle of the night when they've felt that, they've messaged Shout, because it's a great, because when everybody's asleep, your support network's gone, hasn't it?
And that's when your head races a lot as well, isn't it? It's when everything stops, all the
Sometimes,
distractions are gone, and people have that anxiety come out. Yeah, it can be a very lonely place, middle of the night sometimes.
Yeah. So sometimes, especially if I do calls late night, because sometimes I do like a 1 till 3 shift or a 12 till 2 shift in late night. And those are the times where people don't have the support systems around. So having that kind of support system is a really good plan as well. So that sometimes all you need to do is talk.
Yeah.
And
cry as well. I think
cry.
That's a really good point, is actually, I'm not much of a crier. I have cried more since going into staying in than I probably have in the last 10 years. Literally, it's a good year to learn to cry again, because actually if I'd been blocking it all in and holding it in, all God knows what I'd be like now. But I've literally, it has been so up and down, and you're right, it has had to come out in some ways, and that's not a bad thing at all. And I'm very grateful that I have just cried sometimes throughout it, because it is needed. And people, I don't know, is it a British thing that we have this, we should keep it in and just keep going and not show our emotions because we're gonna fight the virus, stay alert, go out, go in, whatever, and we get through it. And actually, it's laughter as well. Yeah, Marianne just put, she went out last night with mums and laughed so much. Oh my God. The 3 of us used to go on a Friday to the virtual pub, didn't we? That was our sort of coping mechanism through lockdown. And then just laugh. And I mean, you and I were talking, Debs, the other day, just how drunk we used to get on it, how alien it feels now that we used to sit there on a Friday night in separate houses, sometimes doing shots and
shots on a Friday night with somebody in a different house. It's crackers.
Yeah, it's bonkers, but it gave us that laughter.
And Duncan used to run some quizzes on a Friday night.
Yeah, we'd have the after party.
Oh,
yeah.
Just for clarity, you can have a good laugh and have that fun without the shots as well. There were a number of times that I was sober and enjoying the after party while everyone else was hammered. So yeah,
that's very true.
Have to be using alcohol or any other substance for that matter to get those giggles.
It's true. That wasn't the point we were trying to portray. Don't become an
alcoholic. And I knew it wasn't, but I just wanted to reiterate it.
Well, this is the other strange thing, because I've always been one of those people that have said I don't drink alone at home on my own. So the first few times when we did the virtual pub, people will know this mug because I used to have my tea in it. It says on it, "There's too much tea in my Prosecco." And that's the irony, because I used to drink, I do drink far more tea or coffee, to be fair, than I do Prosecco. But when you're in a conversation, even online with someone and face to face, and I know there's a lot of people that said, it's not the same, and it's not the same. But actually, I used to engross myself into the Friday conversation, into the virtual pub, and treat it as if I was going to the pub. Yeah. And I did used to have a pub where I had my own teapot at one point, so going to the pub and having a cup of tea was actually okay for me. But we've done karaoke's online and all sorts of things. But actually engrossing yourself into being with friends, even online, rather than going, it's not the same. We know it's not
embracing what you do have, isn't it? It's that mindset of actually, this is what I've got and I'm going to enjoy what's there.
Yes.
That's the point that I want to pick up on, actually. It's not the same. And?
Yeah.
No, it's not the same. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's worse. We have a tendency to assume that if it's not what we're used to, it's not good. Where did that come from? I can tell you where that came from, but that's a whole other conversation. But the thing is, it doesn't need to be that way, right? No. So just because something's not the same doesn't mean that it's worse. It's just
Right.
different. Like, and that can be on an equal level, just a different approach. So, for example, I know there's elements of how Debs works that are very different to what I do. They both get great results. I don't know why Sarah's snorting at that. Let's move on.
No, I'm not. Is that?
Yeah, James embraced the virtual seller man by becoming the virtual.
Yes, you did, James.
Then he got sacked, but never mind. Yeah, so just because something's not the same, yeah, Debs and I, for example, work differently, we get the same results. Some people are going to be more suited to one or t'other. That doesn't mean that
one or t'other. You're going northern as well now. One or t'other.
it doesn't mean that one of us is better.
Yes, everybody get northern.
Yeah, and
Ew, what's going on here?
So
Duncan's trying to make a serious point. Let's shh.
Fine. It's not important.
It's where we do the boob
It
thing.
is important.
So yeah, just because things are different doesn't mean that that one's better than the other, though some may be more suited to certain situations. So Deb's approach may be more appropriate for one particular person, mine may be better for one other, or whatever. And it's the same thing. So a virtual pub, no, it's not the same as going down to a real pub, but it is more suitable to a situation where you're staying in.
Yes.
And it gives you that ability to have the benefits of staying in. You know, it's a stumble to your bed as opposed to a taxi drive home, or whatever.
It's better if you turn the camera off first before you take your clothes off and stumble to the bed.
Yes, Sarah.
Usually a good plan, Sarah. Yes, yes. Always learning.
That the hard way. You know, there are some great benefits from being at home, and you kind of get the best of both worlds if you look at it that way and find ways to make it that way. And sometimes that can mean, like, if you're someone like me, then you go, okay, great, let's do a quiz. Let's find a way to make these things more fun. But you could just as easily just find someone else that likes to do that stuff. Like I was hosting a board game night the other day, and I get really into it and I get really key about it and excited about it. And there were a couple of people that were playing along, and they'd never played a game with me. They didn't realize how overexcited I get about playing games. But they loved it because it made it so much more fun for them. Yeah. They're not the kind of people that would be able to do that, but they can find other people that will. And that's, you know, there's always opportunities. And that's true for socializing, and it's just as true within, obviously Usborne is what we're focusing on right now, but it's true within any aspect and area of life. Just because it's not the same doesn't mean it's not good, and you can find opportunities. And that's no different now, as things are still kind of changing but not quite so consistent. Don't
get him started.
So yeah, things are still changing. There's still a lack of consistency, and there's still an uncertainty, but that still creates, as it did at the very start, some real opportunities to go, okay, so what can I do with this? How can I make it work? I mean, Sarah said at the beginning, oh, what's coming next? You know, and about not knowing what's coming next. Great, brilliant, because with that uncertainty comes opportunity. You should be asking what's coming next, but you shouldn't be asking what's coming next from the perspective of, I've got no idea what's going to be thrown at me next. You should be asking what's coming next in terms of, what can you do next? What can you make happen next? Because you do have the ability to control your world by making those choices and making those changes.
Yes, and I think that is what people are forgetting, is because everything feels so uncertain, you can't make certain plans. Things like, we can't plan January training at the moment because currently we can only have 30 people in the room, including speakers. It has to be spread out. People don't know whether they're going to have to be self-isolating, if they're going to be in tier 3, tier 2, tier 1. You know, no one wants to put money into something when they don't know if they can attend it. So trying to plan certain things is very, very difficult. Trying to book holidays is that. Marianne, that's an amazing point. What can I control? I knew that was going to make Duncan happy. Go on, Duncan, take the floor.
Three things. It's simple. So you've probably heard of the Serenity Prayer. What is it? Grant me the strength to change the things that I can control, the something to accept that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Obviously, I don't know that particular poem very well. But yeah, the simple thing is, there's the simple way of looking at it. There are 3 things in life, and only 3 things that you're responsible for. 3 things that you can control. Everything else you can influence by focusing on those things that you can control. And those 3 things are really, really simple. It's air. right? Your actions, so the stuff that you do, you're responsible for. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. I don't need to explain that. That's pretty obvious. The second one is your inactions. So the stuff you choose not to do, you are just as responsible for as the stuff you do.
And I finally paid that parking ticket.
Now, so Sarah knows I use that as an example when I'm talking about this. Your action of parking badly, that's why you've got a parking ticket. Don't blame the car park attendant. Don't blame the universe. Don't blame whatever. You're the one who chose to park that way. You're responsible for that action. Not paying the ticket means that within a certain amount of time, then you end up needing to pay more. Again, that's your inaction. You're responsible for that. But I hear people blaming the parking ticket people all the time. The final part, and this is the one that sometimes takes a little more practice, your actions, your inactions, and your reactions. You are just as responsible and have just as much control over the way you choose to react to a situation, a scenario, to someone else's actions, inactions, or reactions. That is where the real magic happens. The more you do to practice and create a natural process of choosing, actively choosing and deliberately choosing your reaction and response to things, the more control, the more you'll feel better about the control that you have, and the more you'll be able to focus on that. Just to be clear, I always add a caveat in here. What I'm not saying is that you can control the way that you feel. What you can do, though, is control the way you react and respond to the way that you feel about a situation, and that's where the magic happens.
Oh,
yeah.
Can I really want to build on what you've just said.
Do it.
I feel like I need my little
flip chart.
Get your flip chart.
I'll get my flip chart.
Let's make Debs big. How do we do that?
Look at that butt.
There we go. Oh,
right. Oh, I've got. Oh no, I'm further on than I expected. Because I used it over the weekend in my training. Right, hang on. As you can tell, I like a lot of colour in what I write. Okay, so
while she's getting to the right page, I'm going to answer some of the questions that came in the comments. All board games and card games, basically, is what I like. But I'm particularly fond of really geeky and less common games, and also things like Sushi Go, Exploding Kittens, if anyone's ever heard of them.
We need to play Monocle still. Oh, look at him! Look at this. Hey, James.
James Chisholm.
James is on as well.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because James, you're good at maths, so you'll be good at E plus R equals O.
Oh, right. Right, I've got stuff to do. I'll see you later.
That's all right. We can have it. So, but
You put an X in front of that, it's 0.
Clever.
I've done it as a fatto, so I think that's a
right. He
was saying if you put an X at the beginning, it's the accounting software 0.
Oh yes, of course it is. Okay, so E plus R equals O. So Duncan's just talked about.
Oh, he's absolutely a D&D fan, Hannah. He's not even closet.
So he talks about an event, things that happen. We have to stay in, right?
Yeah.
Plus R, your reaction
equals the outcome. I know this equation.
Equals the outcome.
Beat you, James.
Sarah's the kind of person you watch a film with and she tells you what's going to happen every time before it happens.
Yes. Although, luckily, she didn't see the 2 films that I watched with her, so I didn't hear the outcomes for those. And I was able to just watch them nicely. So, whatever's happening, event, plus whatever your reaction is, equals the outcome. So, for instance, say the event is staying in, and you go, boo, hiss, then the outcome might be sad.
Depression.
Or it could be pantomime.
So I'm only going to give you a couple of options. If you go, hurrah, can get shit done.
Yes!
That really echoed.
Then you'll probably get shit done.
Or just get pissed.
Okay. We did.
No, we need to go this way. So that it depends on what your reaction is as to which way you go.
I love it.
Because there's always at least 2 choices, sometimes 3, maybe 4 or 5. So it's about choosing the option that's going to work for you best.
Oh, see, now, James, can you put like a probability to each one of these lines? We can work out the probability of which way we're all going to go.
Well, it would be different for everybody, wouldn't it? See, that's the thing.
Yes, it would be different for everybody, James. But why? What is it that makes the difference? That's the important question. So as individuals, we are all different. We're all in different places. We've all got different things going on. So for us guys doing this right now, we want to help as many people as possible. So I'm going to throw that question around to the rest of you. Debs, because everyone's different and everyone reacts and responds differently, what can people do to urge themselves more easily closer to the hurrah and further from the boo-hiss?
Because everybody's differently, and everybody's got a different way that their mind works, then everybody needs to find a way that works for them. Because I could say to you, well, phone a friend, but if you're not a person who likes being on the phone, then phoning a friend probably isn't going to be the best thing for you. I could say video call somebody, but if you don't like being on video camera, then that's not going to be the best thing for you. I could say write a list of all the things that's pissing you off, but then a list of all the great things that are happening in your life and the things that you're grateful for. But if you don't like writing lists, then that's not going to work for you either. So actually, and there's loads of other amazing techniques and tips that you can take, but it all depends on how your brain works. So a good thing is to go and see somebody like myself or Duncan to figure out how your brain works. Because if you know how your brain works, even just through a quick 15-30 minute conversation, if you know how I know Tara's on here today, a quick conversation with Tara, and she's like running with the horses at the moment.
Changed her mindset. Amazing.
And just because she's figured out how her brain works.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think my brain works.
Oh, Sarah, come on.
Like this.
Come on.
It's like spaghetti junction in there. It's like, woo!
Big fish, little fish, cardboard box.
See, the thing is, even when you do understand how your brain works, that doesn't equate necessarily to how your mind works. So it's important to understand what resonates for you, what works for you. So Debs actually said something way back at the start of this.
What a testimonial was that?
Yeah, I made a note of that I wanted to mention, which Deb spoke about support systems. And she was primarily focused, I think, on the people that are around you and who you can reach out to. But following on, pairing that up with what she's just said, finding what works for you. So think about when you're in a good place, what helps you? What little things do you do every day when you're in a good place that you don't even think about, that you know would help you, but you don't think about when you're in that funk because it's just not where your mind's at? And make a list of what's right for you. So that could be, for example, and again, this only works.
Is this what you say for James? It's eating Yorkshire puddings.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whatever the situation, just eat Yorkshire puddings.
Okay, James, do you mind if I pick on you and use you as an example?
Well, yeah, to go for it, you usually do.
For example, I know with James that if he gets up and starts work first thing, that actually works really well for him. Whereas most people, I would say, take the time to have some time to centralize your thoughts before you start. Actually, for him, it's better for him to just get on.
I'm like James. I almost got up at 5:30 this morning and started work because I was raring to go.
So I know for James, it works better if he plans ahead the night before what he's going to start work on, because then he'll be in the right place for it. Then the other things that really help James in general are going for a walk. But that's not something that if he was in a bad place, if he was having one of his down days, that's not something he would even really think to do, because he would just bury himself in what he's doing. So if he has like a list of things that he knows helps him, like going for a walk, for example, then when he's in that funk, he can take the time to look at his own suggestions and go, actually, yeah, that does help me. And that could urge him on to go and do that thing that's going to then bring him back in a much better place and help improve his mood, improve where he's at with stuff. That's just one example. The things on your list can be as simple as have a shower. For some people, getting up and having a shower in the morning makes the world of difference. One thing that I do with some of my clients that are particularly anxious is they create this, if you like, play sheet, playbook of things that helps them. They do a list of sort of 10 things roughly that they know that if they do those each day, they're going to feel great. Some of them won't be things that you would do every day, so a couple of times a week, and some of them are things that they just take for granted, like thinking of a client I was working with very recently. Getting up and brushing her teeth is something that she just always does, but it also helps her to feel like she's got something that she's doing that's right. So that's on her list. But then so is making her bed, so is having a shower, but then so is doing 30 minutes of yoga, which she knows she wouldn't do every day, even if she was in a good place. But she knows that it makes her feel better if she does it a few times through the week. So she's then got that list, and what she does is each day she ticks off how many of that list that she achieves, and then at the end of the week she sees what her weekly total is. She can then compare that weekly total with the previous week, and she can see where she's at as a snapshot, rather than panicking and worrying and feeling worse about it each day because she's not ticking stuff off. The focus is over the week, where am I at? And so she can then see that there's a gradual, steady improvement by just taking the time to focus on these things and doing more of what she likes.
Yeah,
agreed.
And they're really good things for if you really thrive on getting that sense of achievement from completing stuff, and if there's nobody else there to pat you on the back, it's best for you to be the one that's patting yourself on the back anyway.
So that's a really, really good point, and something I was talking about a month ago, a few weeks ago now, is it's almost is that as well. Can you give yourself the pat on the back, but also can you motivate yourself, or do you need someone to inject that motivation for you? Are you able to get up and go, I want to do this for me? And actually so many people are lacking in that. It's that they need that someone else checking in with them all the time. And that skill is really important to learn. So Debs or Duncan, how do people learn how to have that motivation coming internally rather than waiting for someone to give it to them?
I'm going to let Debs go first on this because I was talking a lot on the last one.
Or James, if you know the answer.
Motivation's one of those things that it can come externally or internally, but it relates very much to what Duncan's just said about having that tick list of things, what happened when, noting the things that happen when things are good. So with motivation, if you prefer somebody else to be motivating you, then if they're not there, it's noticing what it is that they say or do so that you can do those things as well. I mean, there's techniques that I use that are motivational techniques, like I can pull my ear and I go, pitching, I'm here. But that's because I've put something on my ear that makes me do that. But so that helps. But it's noticing those things that other people say to you or do with you that you can help do with yourself. And the motivation stuff, it's also about setting outcomes. One of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar is, "Are you a wandering generality?" I can't remember the second bit now. It's gone from my head. Are you a meaningful specific or a wandering generality? So a meaningful specific means, are you doing something with meaning, or have you got an outcome? Are you specifically working towards something? Or are you a wandering generality, which means you've got nothing to aim for, so you're just zigzagging along with life and just letting things happen. And I know so many people who don't write goals because they've got a fear of failure, a fear of making goals and things like that. But if you do have some kind of outcome, call it outcome instead of goals. Call it something else. If you don't like the word goal, call it something else so that it sits well with you. But if you have an outcome and something to aim for, then you've got a focus to aim for as well, and you can move towards that focus. And that is so helpful. Whereas if you go, oh, well, I don't know what's happening from 1 week to the next, that's when things often hit people, because they're not looking. And Sarah and I were talking about this the other day, in the fact that we'd one of the things that had just got to us was the fact that things in the future, which we'd normally be planning, like Sarah was saying with the January training, we couldn't look towards things in the future, or we felt like that had gone. And then I think both of us has done a bit of a reassess and gone, well, no, actually, these are things that are in our power that we can still aim for, regardless of the fact that these traditional things that we do aren't going to happen.
Yeah,
it's different. That doesn't mean it's worse. So
no.
to answer your question in a slightly different angle, like Deb's spot on, brilliant. Took a very different thought process on interpreting the question, I think, as much as anything else.
Always.
For me, that kind of internal versus external motivation was kind of what you were asking about, Sarah. And there's two elements to it. One is, if you find external motivation is easier, a simple short-term solution is to find that external motivation, make that a regular thing. So that could be an accountability buddy. Like, there's loads of people watching this right now. If there's more than one person, there's going to be more than one person that sat there thinking, yeah, it would just work better if I had someone else to support me with it or to push me on it. Phone someone. Like, put it in the comments now if that's you. Wave your hand around and get in touch with someone else who said that.
I think that's key. And this is what came out the last time we had this discussion, actually, of so many people were like, oh, yeah, I am that person that needs someone. It's like, well, are you putting your hands up and messaging someone when you need that kick? No. You've got to take some responsibility. If you need external kicks, then you need to, I don't know. I think it's James, I need a kick up the bum to get my account sorted. You're not kicking my bum enough, James, because they're not sorted.
To be fair, you're actually on my list. I created a list earlier this week of all stuff that I needed to do and rocketed through it early part of the week.
Is she on the naughty list or the...
Yeah. So
I think I need to pay you too.
It's all about creating positive pressure. So I don't know about you, but if I need to tidy my house, the best way I can get my house tidy is to invite someone round.
Oh, yeah,
without
absolutely.
much notice, right? So if I know, crap, someone's coming round in half an hour, I'm going to get more done in that half an hour than I would in 3 hours if I had no pressure to do it, right? So you create positive pressure for yourself. Use other people to do that and support them in return. And in fact, that works even better for me. Having a regular accountability call with my brother, actually, means that I'm doing it for him. So because I'm doing it for him, it matters more to me, just because that's how I'm wired. But then the flip side of it is, that's a really simple, quick, easy, short-term, great solution, which can help you for a long time. But better still is, as Debs was saying, actually work on creating that for yourself. Make it an internal thing. One of the best ways to do that, and actually one of the best ways to deal with all the change that's going on, is to create some amount of stability and certainty for yourself. Now, that's no quick, easy feat necessarily. It can be, particularly if you get the support of another plug, the support of someone like Debs or myself to give you that kind of direction and understanding. But look, for example,
we'd just be redundant, James. You and I, we've got nothing to add.
Thursday evening, I'm doing a live in the Power Team group. Is that right? Yes.
Yes, you are.
And Debs is going to be joining me for part of it as well.
Is it this Thursday or next Thursday?
That's this Thursday, I believe.
I can watch it now then. That's good.
Maybe it is next Thursday.
I don't know. Next Thursday I can't. This Thursday I can.
Well, anyway, that's happening. It's a thing. And we'll drop the link in the comments to this afterwards, which is all about understanding your values. So taking the time to really understand what matters to you, what's important to you. When you do that, a couple of things happen. One, suddenly motivation is much easier because you can align the stuff you need to do with what matters to you. And suddenly the stuff you need to do matters to you. So you want to do it. The other thing is, when you really understand yourself, you create a certainty and a stability. So it doesn't matter a damn what's going on around you. If you know who you are, there can be as much change because this is something that I explored a bit, is like there's some people that are really good at accepting and embracing change, and some people really, really resistant to it. The key difference is those people that accept it, they generally have a better sense of who they are, so they can accept other stuff around them changing a lot easier.
Yeah, true. Marianne,
So
get your team member on here so she can listen to what we're saying, or give it a link so she can watch it through later. Really.
What were you saying, James?
So I was going to say I had a thought about the whole motivation thing, which has been really key for me in terms of helping myself through things. So generally, I'm pretty motivated. I don't massively struggle with it, but occasionally I do. And one of the things that I realised, probably about 10 years ago or something like that, was if I wasn't in the right mood for doing work, I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't beat myself up for not doing it, because I was very conscious of the fact that if I wasn't in the right mood or I wasn't motivated to do it, I would spend probably 8 hours and get very little done. Yet if I gave myself the time, came back to it the next day or whatever, I could do that 8 hours worth of work that I would have done the previous day in about half an hour. And that was really key for me, is that sometimes I'm just not in the right mood, and I let myself do whatever it is that I need to do to get back to being motivated again. So yeah.
See, I'm the opposite, James, is that I've learned to redirect not being in a good working mood, so having a hangover, not feeling well, that it's now habit to me that I take action from it. So it used to be like, oh, I've got my period, I feel rubbish, I'm going to take 2 days on the sofa and do nothing. And I will still give myself some time when I go, actually, I want to sit down, and that's fine. But my knee-jerk reaction is, well, I just need to do something. I just have to do something first, and then I'll allow myself that time to relax or sit down. So it's funny the way we position things.
It's knowing your own body. I think it's really important to know what your body and how your body reacts to things. Because before I went through a period of depression that I went through a few years ago, I was exactly like Sarah. Everything was, I'll just do something. I'll just do something. I'll just do something. But going through the sort of breakdown and then depression, that was my body telling me that I needed to rest, actually. Oh. Because when you stop, my body had been telling me to rest for ages, and I'd not. I just kept going and going and going and going until it hit the point where I just lost the plot at work. Absolutely lost the plot. And coming out the other side, it makes you realise that sometimes that you do need to listen to your body. And if your body is saying, today it's a day to rest, then rest.
So last Monday and Tuesday, I literally didn't move off the sofa. We had some work stuff going on that I couldn't ignore. So I did some bits, but I didn't move from the sofa or under a duvet because I'd literally ran my body into the ground. If anyone goes to Amsterdam, book a week off afterwards.
Well, if they do Amsterdam like you did, Sarah, obviously. If they're just going to go and tour around Dan Frank's house, I think they'll be fine.
See, the thing that's changed most for me in that respect is timescales. Not Amsterdam, by the way. So what I used to do is I used to go, I'm really not feeling it, but I know I need to get on with stuff. So I'm going to force myself to get on with stuff. And so then I'd sit down and I'd carry on plodding through, and I'd do a James. I'd take 8 hours to do what could be done in 30 minutes, but I'd spend all day kind of convincing myself that it's okay because I'm busy and I'm doing stuff, when really all I'm doing is scrolling Facebook or focusing on stuff that doesn't require my attention, because that's easier than things that I actually need to get on with. And so I could justify that I'm taking action, so I'm doing the Sarah thing, and that's fine. But in reality, I fucking wasn't. And then I'd sleep or whatever and come back, or I'd go and do the thing I need, whatever, and then I'd come back to it and I'd be right, next day, yep, boom, I'm on it, and that's great. And what I started to do was spend still far too long at first doing that, and then going, no, hang on, you know better than this, go and take a break, go and do something different and come back to it. And it went from a whole day of doing the wrong thing and then a whole day of looking after me, and then a whole day of actually being on it, roughly, to then actually spending less of the day procrastinating and wasting my time, and spending the next half of that day looking after myself, so that the next day I was back on it. And then it became actually noticing it sooner and acknowledging 5 minutes into me going, I'm scrolling Facebook again, and go, hang on a minute, you do it, you know this is the pattern, break it. And then I would go and spend 40 minutes, half hour, 20 minutes, and now sometimes that long, sometimes just 5 minutes or 2 minutes, using, for me personally, using hypnosis, but that could be meditation, it could be going for a walk, it could be whatever. And now literally in 5 minutes, I'm back in and on focus and cracking on with it and feeling good about doing so, because I've made that choice to step away from the do something different, and that I know I love and that feels good and that helps me. And then of course I'm cheating slightly, because with the self-hypnosis you can kind of condense that into a shorter space of time and change your mental state and your physiology and all of that jazz as well. So cheating a bit.
But you're right. That's where I'd put the pressure thing on. So if I'm not focusing and I'm flitting around on Facebook and not doing my tasks, then I might book to go for lunch with someone, because then all of a sudden I haven't got all day to get that task done. I've got until 12 o'clock. And then suddenly the focus comes into play, and it's that pressure again. As you say, this all boils back down to knowing how you work, because nobody's perfect. Nobody wakes up every single day fully motivated, jumps on the laptop and goes, yes, all my tasks are going to come out in this beautiful flow, and I'm going to spend every single day like that. Because you don't. We all get days where we're like, oh God, I've got a job to do today that I don't want to. I need to get my accounts over to James. Like, can he do that?
Yeah, when it comes to accounts, I get that.
Can we just stop talking about accounts?
No, don't stop talking about accounts. Get the accounts done, and then they don't get a problem.
So you can see where all
little
of us
by
now. This is where we're all procrastinating, and this is the thing. We all have our areas where we just go, no, we're not looking at that today, or this month, or this year. So that's what we needed, James.
To be fair,
James, I do need to talk to you, Flower.
And so it's really easy for me now. It's literally every now and then I'll get a reminder from James that I need to send a few invoices across or whatever, and I do it and it's done.
I need to send lots of invoices across.
Little and often.
You know the process, I don't stick to it. Work in progress.
Wes has brought up something interesting. I love change. How else can we grow and develop? And I totally agree with the changing and growing and developing. I do know with chats that I have with quite a few people that change is less easy for some people to go through. But I tell you,
you know what? I think people have been through a lot of change over a short period of time, and not just with the stuff that's going on in the world. If you look at the four of us, okay, Duncan started a brand new relationship, is moving in with a new girlfriend who he hadn't even met before the start of it.
Now public knowledge.
After years, James has moved out into his own place, is now in his own flat, and moved away from where he was living with his ex. Debs, you've had loads of stuff going on with your mum. You've launched your practitioner's course. You've thrown yourself into work. I've had stuff going on in the background of relationships. It's literally things seem to.
Club.
You've launched Relax Club. So much big things have changed, as well as like the whole world changing as well. And I think maybe a lot of people have done this. Their circumstances changed. They had to stay in. They made adjustments and put other bonkers things into their life at the same time. And I feel like that's probably having a repercussion on people as well now. They're suddenly going, oh, what the hell has happened since March? How did I get here? And again, it's being kind to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, but and also recognising it, because there's so many people that say, oh, I don't deal with change well, and I don't cope with change. But actually, when I speak to some people and we say, well, let's have a look at the changes that have happened over the last few months, they're amazed by the amount of change that they've coped with and dealt with, whereas in the past it would have probably sent them off the charts. But actually, because we've all stayed in and we've all been in the same situation pretty much, it means that because we feel like we're part of something, because we're all in it together, really.
I feel like we're part of the loony bin.
It's part of life, so people have just got on with it.
At last.
And it's a lot of change. Part of life. Yeah.
So humans are far more adaptive and adaptable than they believe themselves to be.
Yes.
And it's not until you go through those big changes that you can see just how resilient we are. But going through those changes, it's really important to take the time to stop and look back and acknowledge those changes that you have made, those things that you have been through, and the strength that's come from that. Yes, Sarah.
So Pete, this is a massive, going back to Osborne, this is a massive fear and
Osborne?
a massive blocker for people moving their business forward, getting their promotions, having success, having higher earnings. And it's that fear of who they have to change into and who they have to become. And then it's that imposter syndrome of, well, that's okay for that person because they've obviously got this skill set. I'm not that person. I can't go through that change. I can't be a caterpillar and come into a butterfly or whatever.
Cool.
I'm going to go like wooey. But so it is. How do we get past that imposter syndrome? That
it's so easy. It really is so simple. Sorry, not easy. Simple. Not easy. Simple. So
I liked it being easy. Damn it.
Well, it is so simple though, right? How does a builder become a builder? By building something, right? How does a doctor become a doctor? And that's something that's a big
by
deal.
Doctoring something.
Right?
I thought that. No, doctoring things isn't good generally, I don't think.
Well, okay, maybe I shouldn't have made out like that. When a doctor to become a doctor, you have to go through years of training, yeah, but that's not years of training sat in a classroom. You have to do hours actually at the bedside. You have to do rounds. You have to, to become a surgeon, they don't just go, there you go, you practice by doing it. Debs and I have both spent X number of hours doing clinic hours as part of getting as part of being able to do what we do, because you don't learn by sitting and reading from a freaking book. I realize I'm saying that to people who sell books, but
I'm sorry, I have a whole book of psychology over there.
you absolutely you grow into the thing by doing the thing. You'll never be a successful executive leader without doing what an executive leader does, which is
what are they meant to do? Somebody tell me.
Well, that's the thing. And that's one of the things I love about Osborne is that there isn't this is how you must do it. It's like you go and you be you. And the more that you are you and shout about why you love what you do, the easier it is to keep that growing. And let people grow with you, So absolutely, realistically, it is simple. Become a baker by baking, become a builder by building, become a success by just doing the thing that you by successing or by succeeding, by doing the thing that you want to be better at. Just keep doing more of it.
Become an accountant by counting.
Yeah, exactly.
I need more fingers.
You're a accountant. You earned £10 this year. Congratulations.
Yeah. Everything's less than 10.
Duncan, you went 9.
I need a new accountant. On the plus side, James, how much tax do I need to pay this year?
3.
Yay!
How much tax do I have to pay? Oh God, I need to do my tax return. So good.
It's all
so what?
Sarah, click Marianne's comment.
This one.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I think that's what I was saying about it's really easy to overlook what you've achieved and how much change you've dealt with. So she recently wrote a list of all she had achieved in the last 18 months. It was more than she thought. Good to reflect through the change. Like, I think everyone could really benefit from taking the time to write a list of that.
It terrifies me a little bit though when I especially if I do it over like the past 5 years or something. It literally.
So just do it over lockdown. Just do it over a shorter period.
Well, I don't know if I've achieved anything over lockdown. No, actually, I've had my biggest bump ever. Sorry,
you found me, and that's enough. right?
I found Debs. I've met Debs. Like,
but no,
my
let's
life
do
has
that one
changed
now.
forever.
What have you achieved over lockdown? So since
Okay, we
the
had our biggest sales month ever over
boom, wow,
lockdown.
There you go.
Earnings are consistently about 2k ahead of where they were about this time
boom,
last year.
excellent.
I managed to not like kill you or James or anyone.
Website.
I've got kayaks. I started horse riding again. That's a
Yeah.
good achievement. That's a massive achievement for me to start horse riding again. I've probably lost a little bit of weight. I tidied my room. What?
You got kayaks?
I got kayaks. I did get
Lovely.
kayaks. Yeah.
We went on a tandem.
I rode a tandem for the first time. Yes. Yes. By definition, the imposter syndrome is generally felt by people that are scared that others will not see their value offering by removing the what? Hello, Wes.
If you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it means you're doing something right. Either because you're starting to grow beyond what you're used to, which means you're doing something right, great, run with it, or because what you're doing has become so natural and easy for you that you feel like, well, anyone could do this. And that's not true. It's just that you've got the experience and practice that it feels easy. So either way, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, well done, good, go do more of it.
Okay, that's the weirdest summary ever. Go have more imposter syndrome.
It's so true. Imposter syndrome is a wonderful thing. Look, I've got like a whole hour's video on it in my group. So if you head to Empower Yourself and Others and just search "I don't belong here," there's an hour-long video about it. I think there's like a 10-minute version on my YouTube channel as well. If you don't have an hour to waste to spend on something really valuable and helpful.
Nice. Wow. Interesting framing there.
But yeah, there's like a 10-minute version on my YouTube. So just search Mind Affinity on YouTube and you'll find that one.
Okay. So in summary then, because we have been talking for an hour, is the struggle real right now? And do you have to be struggling?
It's only real if you want it to be, if you believe it to be. It's all down to your perception.
Okay.
Sorry, was that?
I kind of want to just go this.
Yes. I feel like Debs has had a real breakthrough this morning with her own event reaction and outcome. It's so true though. So actually, RMD does this a lot. Talks about the event reaction outcome. I can't remember which book it's from. There is a book.
It's from Sumo, Paul McGee.
Ah, Paul McGee is coming to do a talk for us. Hopefully, I love Paul McGee.
Oh my god, I love Paul McGee. I met him when I used to do what I did before. Yeah. He came and did 2 talks, and for years until I did all my NLP stuff, I coached everything through Paul McGee's book. I still use it now.
Somewhere. I don't know where it is. But yeah, no. So he might be coming in to do some work with some leaders. The talks with him at the moment, which is it's really bizarre, isn't it? Bizarre how Paul McGee is someone I met over a year ago at a Festival of Happiness run by Andy Cope, and it was the only time I've ever heard him speak. Brought his book, spoke to him, connected on Twitter. Haven't heard his name at all, and then that's twice within a week. He's been mentioned while doing like live or Zooms, and then there's a connection being put in there. It's mental.
I was going to, all the way through this morning, I really wanted to draw a hippo in the mud, because that's another thing that he does. It's okay to be a hippo in the mud because it's nice and warm and cozy in there.
Can you draw that for us now? I'd love to see you draw a hippo in the mud.
Well, the reason why I've not done the drawing is because I know that my hippo will kind of probably look like a log with legs or something.
This is why I want to see it.
Just don't draw the hippo in purple pen. Otherwise, I will get offended.
I'm going to draw it in purple pen right now. Do you know what I was doing? Until you said about doing it in purple pen.
We just play like Pictionary now instead.
Right, okay. I don't even know where to start. Hang on.
Why Debs is drawing that. Stefan has made a good point here. Why are we so hung up on other people's approval all the time? Why do we care about people's opinions?
Are you actually asking me why?
I'm asking James why.
Oh,
see, I think I've been told this from I have a feeling in my head that we were, as kids, always looking for approval from our parents, and that was sort of ingrained in us, so that it's always been there. I've become more and more, because I used to always look for people's opinions of me. Now I don't at all. I would still obviously like to hear nice things and stuff like that, but it doesn't affect me now at all in terms of what people think of me, because I'm comfortable in where I am and what I'm doing. And I think the way that I can't see this purple hippo.
It's amazing. It's far better than a hippo I could colour it in.
It's better than I thought it was going to be fair.
Brilliant hippo. Like,
Don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. Like,
yeah, that's good.
Well, that's not mine. I don't know who said that originally. I'm stealing someone else's quote. But it's all well and good to say, "Oh, just don't be affected by other people." You're going to be affected by other people. We're human. That's what we do. But the key thing is to acknowledge and recognize, actually, does this person's opinion really matter to me? If it does, what can I learn from their criticism? If it doesn't, fuck 'em. I'm allowed to swear, right? Live on YouTube in the middle of the day.
YouTube, yeah, YouTube. It's on two groups. YouTube, you're fine. Yeah, I don't think anyone can have anything negative to say about you anyway, James. You're too lovely for anyone to not have anything positive to say.
One of the big things that when I first became self-employed, I'd come from a corporate background, suits and all that sort of jazz, and I thought that nobody would ever treat me seriously as a finance director without wearing a suit. So for probably best part of 2 years, I was at least in a shirt and trousers and proper shoes. Whereas now I'm happy wearing a hoodie and jeans and trainers. And I'm comfortable in that. And the thing is, the one thing that I really sort of focus in on there is the fact that it doesn't matter what I wear. My skills are the thing that's in my head. That doesn't change what I wear, apart from the fact that I actually feel more comfortable wearing a hoodie and jeans than I do in a suit. I also feel much more comfortable in a duck costume.
You're in a suit there as well.
Well, that was the thing. I was wearing a suit, so I have to, find some other outlet for.
Is that why you went into a tracksuit? Because it still has suit on the end.
Tracksuits and a suit on the end. I think Stefan's watching this, and I think he'll agree with you as well. If you look back through some of his older Instagram photos and things like that, he was very much suited and booted, SEO, business owner. This is how I'm going to portray myself. And actually, he's become much more. Well, now he's all bohemian with like his baggy clothes and God knows what's going on. But that's a phase. But it's being comfortable in your own skin. I'm not going to be suited and booted the entire time. If I'm going to go do a presentation on stage, I'm going to make sure I may be slightly more put together than doing this. But, let's be honest. I've come straight out of the bath this morning, have wet hair, zero makeup. Debs hasn't even managed to put a bra on. Duncan's in like some great... if we all had to feel we need to be professional and look the part, we'd never get anything done. You don't have to be that person. And it's just...
This is James wearing a different kind of suit.
This is the reason why you shouldn't invite your friends to help you move house.
Because they want your old photo albums.
Yeah.
I normally wear my Superwoman, my Wonder Woman pants, and I haven't even got that far this morning. I'm still in my PJs, so it's all good.
Excellent. I love it. I feel like we've almost gone right.
James even got to meet Timmy Mallet once.
I did.
Love it.
Yep. I got hit on the head by Mallet.
With a great big hammer between you and... Right, okay. James and Duncan, you have to play. Duncan, your first word is dog.
What's this game? I can't remember the game.
Timmy Mallet. You have to say...
Sarah,
it's word association.
People watching this going, what? Because you're just showing your age.
For me, do you see where I went then?
Mallet's mallet.
Yeah. So you have to say a word that relates to the other words. If say your category is, I don't know, animals or something like that, then Duncan would say a word Okay, no, your category is motivation. Duncan, you go first.
Values.
Tesco.
Is it meant to still be within the same?
I thought it was just word association. It's funnier when it goes away.
Oh, so it's not meant to be in the same category.
No, it's fine. You can just do a word that comes with Tesco's.
I just said shopping.
Shares.
Oh, it's Debs playing as well. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, now Duncan.
Milk.
So it's going James, Debs, Duncan. So James said, no, you said values. James said Tesco's. Debs said
shopping. I said milk.
Milk.
Cow.
James.
That's really harsh. You can't say James after I said cow.
Bull.
All right.
On. No, stop the game. Stop the game.
Let's get Duncan out. Whack. All right.
Bring it on later.
Before we can play this,
Duncan has to wear a whack-a-day plaster now.
Oh yeah, we need the whack-a-day. You got a hat or something you can put on, Duncan? Put something silly on. Sit in the corner.
I've got a cowboy hat.
There you go. Right, there we go. That's your. I've lost Mallet's mallet. Debs, would you like to explain the hippo in the mud?
We're coming back. I like how Tara said it's a horse on a cloud. So I drew some grass.
Drew some grass. So
the hippo in the mud.
Grass, I see.
So the hippo in the mud is it's okay to wallow in the mud for a small amount of time because it's nice and warm and cozy in the mud, and that's why hippos go in there to get themselves all warm and lovely and feel all cozy, and they rest in there. They close their eyes in there. It's their relaxation area. Did you realise that hippos went to their own spa to have a proper mud bath? That's what that's all about. So actually, being in the mud for a hippo, it's like a spa day for them. And it's good to take care of yourself by having that spa day. The key is how long you spend in there, because it's okay to sit and relax and maybe even wallow in the mud if you want to kind of wallow a bit, because that's what they can also do. The key is getting out of there and how you get out of there and the speed that you get out of there.
Is this analogy when I sit in the bath for 4 hours in the evening and actually I should only be in there for 1?
No, it's okay to sit in there for 4 hours because that's your relaxation time, the time that you get to spend on your own without the kids bursting in and all that kind of stuff. It's also where you have lots of conversations with people who you like having conversations with. You watch a few bits on telly, you're messaging people. It's okay to spend your time in the bath. 4 hours in the bath is fine.
Telly, but yeah.
But the thing is that you get out of the bath. What a lot of people do is they stay in this comfy spot and they don't get out. And that's when you turn all wrinkly. And that's when you turn all wrinkly, it's not good for your skin. It's not good for you. So the whole analogy is that you get out, clear the wrinkles, clear the mud off yourself, and get out there and do what you need to do. But it's okay to be in the mud for a short time. It's okay to be there.
Yeah.
Because so many, and the reason
comes back.
Huh?
I was going to say that comes back to that whole thing that Duncan said at the start, which is how you feel is absolutely okay, and being able to sit and wallow and be in that moment. But my God, don't just stay there forever. Life's too short.
Yeah. But the key is that knowing that this is okay, because so many people beat themselves up for wallowing in the mud, and that's also the difference. If you're in wallowing in the mud time, if you're in 4 hours in the bath time, Sarah, that's okay, because that's doing you good at that time. It's the amount of time you stay in there that's key. So it's about getting out as well as getting in. But having that as, it's okay to be comfortable. Very great back, Duncan.
I know. I'm loving Duncan in the hat. I just want to play Mallet's Mallet all afternoon now, to be fair. I could just sit here. I'm going to wrap this up in a minute. So has anyone got any questions for either Duncan, Debs, James or myself before we all disappear, because I'm sure we do all have real work to do. I think this is, work which is well worth doing, even if it is enjoyable and bonkers.
Most of my
Yeah.
work is enjoyable.
Can
And
I ask
a lot.
James a question, actually?
Yes, ask each other questions. That's a good idea.
I actually want to know, James, how many of your clients come to you, and when they get to you, they're in such a state mentally because their finances have affected you, that when you help them, it's like the whole work. What can you tell me about those clients? Because for me, I think that's really, the financial things are really important.
Yeah. So you tend to find get one of sort of two clients sort of coming towards me. It's either the ones who haven't done anything and suddenly find that they've got a load of stuff to do. They don't know what they're doing. They've got no idea where the business really is, and they just need help with it. It tends to come along with the lines of either a letter from HMRC saying that you need to file something, or which tends to be the worst situation, which is they've ignored that letter and then realise that they need to file something in like a week, which is not a great situation to be in. Like we were saying earlier, getting it to a position where you can do it little and often is great. It does create sleepless nights and stuff like that. A lot of the letters that come out, especially from HMRC, are worded to sound very urgent. And one of the key ones that triggers people if they set up a limited company is that they will receive a corporation tax notification 12 months after setting up the company. Now, they don't need to file that for another 9 months, but the letter they receive is very much worded, you need to do this now, and they panic. And the amount of times I have conversations with people saying, I've had this from HMRC, I need to file it now. And then you go, no, it's all right. You don't need to file it for 9 months' time, but you don't want to be in this position again in 9 months' time. So you get those ones. And then the other ones is where they basically hear from their accountant once a year. And they don't feel, again, like they know exactly where their business is in terms of where the actual numbers are. So it's generally a lack of knowledge of where they're at is the thing that triggers them. And that tends to come after being very, very busy for quite a while and then sort of stepping back and going, actually, I don't know where my business is.
Yeah. Thank you. I know these two are blowing bubbles while you're doing all that, but for me,
I just ignore them.
It's really helpful.
I tend to find that it's easier if you just ignore them.
Yeah, definitely.
What James was describing was me in parts. So not that I hadn't done anything, but when I turned around to James and said, James, I didn't want to have this conversation. My intention was, if I get everything up to date to where it is now, so it's in reasonable condition, then I can turn around to someone like James and go, hey, can you help me get it right going forward? But that just never happened, which meant I was putting it off. In the end, I went, James, sort me out. And straight away, he made it so much easier dealing with all the old stuff that I hadn't done, and got me in a place where going forward it was easier. Like I'm brilliant at what I do. I'm rubbish at counting. Numbers don't interest me.
I'm quite good at accounting. I just haven't got the inclination to do it.
Yeah. I mean, when I do it, I can work my way around it. It's not a problem. But it's just so much easier to get someone who actually cares about that stuff to do it, so I can focus on my words, which are much more fun than numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I like the numbers. But James, talking to which, I do need to try and book a day with you, I think, where I actually just come with a laptop and all my paperwork and just sit with you and go, whoa, what the hell is going on?
Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't think you can come and sit with me because I'm in tier 3 lockdown. I think for work purposes, I think we can, but we'll have to see about that. I don't know what the situation is with that, but all fun and games. But one way or another, we'll sort it out.
You're in that fucked stage part of the country, are you?
Yeah, like literally just over the fucked line. by like a mile and a half. Like a mile and a half.
I'm line, but I'm in tier 2.
Yeah. See, I'm in tier 3.
I haven't got a clue what tier I'm in.
I thought
Anyone
there was
know?
only. Are you in Liverpool then, James? Because I thought there was only
You're fine, Sarah.
Tier 3.
It's Liverpool City region, which
Right.
includes the Wirral as well. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah.
Excellent.
So we need the virtual pub back on a Friday then, don't we, love?
So Marianne
Well,
said we
yeah.
need a game session on accounting again.
We can sort that out.
Hey,
Everyone
excellent.
look at Chisholm session.
This feels very much virtual pub now. I swear Duncan and I used to end most virtual pubs in some type of crazy hat.
In hats, blowing bubbles.
In hats, blowing bubbles.
I know, I'm looking for my bubbles. Where have I put them? I know I've got some somewhere.
How come I never got bubbles?
I gave you bubbles, James.
You didn't give me bubbles.
I gave you bubbles.
I've never had bubbles.
Have you not?
No.
I thought I gave you bubbles when we went camping. I gave you
No.
badges.
You
I think
gave
I've
me
lost my
badges.
badges.
Or maybe if you wore your badges more, I'd send you some bubbles.
I never got an ice.
One of them's got super glue on it.
Why did you get super
I've got
glue?
loads of bubbles somewhere with a special liquid in them, because I used to make when I did my modelling project for Master Practitioner, I learned how to make a bubble caterpillar and then turn it into a daisy. Because one of my students is a bubble magician.
I want to see a caterpillar bubble turned into a daisy. This is literally the Debs show.
I can't
want
find
where are my badges?
Oh, you see, that's the best badge.
I've got
That gets you free beer in pubs.
I've got badges that are Duncan.
So Alana just made a really good point there, just vaguely pretending to be sensible for a moment. She said she's dreading even looking at my numbers. Trust me, it's never as bad as the dread. You're going to think that it's worse than it really is. And especially if you do pick up the phone to someone like James, he'll help you through it. It just makes life so much easier. Is that an 8-year-old badge?
No, it's how you're feeling today. So I'm on a 10, and
see.
I'm on an 8, and then I've got a ninja guitar sticker. I've got a digital commando bottle that I could probably hang from somewhere. I'm trying to work out what else I've got in reach to play with.
I don't have anything. I got my Thriver kit this morning though. Ooh.
See, mine's still not sent out. I'm going to have to just re-sign up from a different account, which is really annoying because I need my bloods done. Actually, that's a really good point that I wanted to make earlier. When we were talking about all the psychological stuff of not feeling great and all of that, actually, don't overlook the physical stuff as well, because my mental health drops massively if my B12 drops. And for years, I had no idea that I was deficient in B12 at all until I got one of those Thriver kits that you've just got and did my own bloods. And that immediately brought to my attention that I'm deficient in vitamin D, deficient in vitamin B12, lowish in folate as well. And all these things make a massive difference to my energy levels when I'm on the ball with them. So actually, don't be scared of going to your GP or getting a private blood kit as well and going, actually, I'm just going to double check what's going on with my body before I blame it all on that I'm wallowing in the mud or psychological reasons or the world that it is now. Oh, look, someone told me I'm tier 1. That's good. I like this. Everyone else knows what's going on in my life and not me.
Coming to your house then. Yay!
Don't bring your COVID down here.
So, yes, my mental health goes through the floor when I'm not eating properly. Eat rubbish, feel rubbish. Yeah, that's also true, Hannah. Whatever you eat does affect it as well.
Yeah,
I find when I eat loads of fruit and veg, then I'm like, bitching. But it's so tempting sometimes when you're in that lower time to grab for the chocolate, grab the bread, grab the things that you really like that you know will lower your energy. Eat anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. Take time to look after yourself. It really is the most important thing. Like, there's a lot of stress right now, and change, no matter how well you embrace it, is stressful. That doesn't have to be a bad thing if you manage it well. And one of the key parts is taking time to put that stress down, to relax. Which bad is it? Relax.
See, things like this, I feel like things like this are great for my mental health, and it's engineering actually getting Dunky says relax.
Oh, I want one. They are so cool, Dunks.
I was never allowed an I
Relax
slept
Club.
with Duncan one. I wanted the I slept with Duncan, but I've never slept with Duncan, so I never got that bad. James got an I slept with Duncan badge.
James has slept with Duncan badge.
Yeah.
The only badge I've had through staying in is my drag queen friend sent me a badge saying I love Fanny Burns.
Nice.
That's because her drag queen name is Fanny Burns. So
we all love a Fanny Burns.
Hannah,
So my team are requesting badges.
All you need to do is join Relax Club and you can have one of my badges. It's that easy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Nice. Which is on tonight, isn't it? At 8 p.m.
It is. So Relax Club is on whenever you want it. But the live session is every Wednesday at 8 p.m.
Excellent. Is there a Zoom afterwards as well?
There is a social Zoom afterwards for anyone who wants to come and join the fun.
I might join Relax Club.
I so wish I could do that but Wednesdays is when I have mum, so.
Well, you can rewatch it at any time. You can.
I know, but you know me, I like a live.
I like it live. I like a live show.
Good. Avoid the news for your mental health, Tara. That will be fabulous.
Yeah, I don't touch the news. I have no idea what's going on. Not a clue.
No, I have no idea. And then I Google something and I've still no idea because people say, "Oh, you're in tier 2," and I'm like, no idea what that means. No. So,
right, I'm actually going to have to go.
Yes, thank you all for watching. For the people who have managed to stick through an hour and 22 minutes of us wearing cowboy hats, blowing bubbles, playing Mallet's Mallet. That's so fun. Yay! You know, I feel like we've just brought an audience tonight. What would be our normal social time? But
this is usually our normal social time.
First hour was
online.
Like, you know, I'll cut bits out. Maybe they make like 20 minutes worth of like really good. I mean, I love the hippo in the mud. I love the fact that we had not a whiteboard, a flipboard suddenly appear. Like, that was brilliant. Like, I'm loving it.
My flip charts.
That almost made it look as if we were like professional. And
I know. We suddenly went like, here's what we do, here's this, and then we ruined it with hats and badges and sunglasses and stickers and bubbles. As per usual. Right. Thank you all for watching. Go out there now. I hope this has given you a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of a break, a little bit of, you know, realization that it's okay to be struggling a little bit. We've all been through different points this year of struggling. As I say, Debs and I would massively both hit a bit of a brick wall this week. I know, James, at the start of the year, actually, you had some struggles. Duncan, I just think, is a machine. But, you know, no, I've seen you cry. You break too.
Yeah, I'm quite open about it. I love crying. It sounds a bit perverse, but no, like, it doesn't happen that often. So when it does, it's important for me personally to sit with that and really allow myself to experience it. And I become quite objective about it. So it's I observe the fact that I'm feeling that way, and I witness myself crying, and I find it I view it with intrigue, which actually makes it a lot easier to deal with. But it means that I don't try and fight it off. It means that, like, I love that you embrace it. And I'm going to go back to a moment when you put Neil Diamond on to play and really allowed yourself to just go through that grief and things. And I think it's great. I think, you know, we all need to realize when we need to cry and let that out. So if you need to cry, it's not it's not some. It's neither weakness nor bravery. So when people like break down and cry, it's seen as weakness. It isn't. When I talk about it, a lot of the time people talk about how it's quite brave the way that I handle grief and things like this. Like when so for those who know me, they'll know who I mean when I refer to Damien. But, you know, a bloke that I lived with for 5 years or so died a year ago. In March last year, and I dealt with that pretty much by going, right, this is it, feel what you need to feel, and experience that for what it was. And I'm not pretending that it was easy or fun, but it was interesting to experience it and allow myself to do so. By really sitting with that, by really just taking a good so basically the next day, I found him one morning, and then the next morning, that night I went to the pub. I had a business networking meeting. Chisholm came all the way down from up
I
north.
didn't realise you came down for that that night.
So I phoned him. He was one of the first people I phoned after it happened, to say, dude, you're still coming down, right? It's like, yeah. It's like, do you have some spare stationery that we needed for the event? And he's like, yeah, why? I was like, well, there's a chance I might not be able to make it, because I'm just dealing with this right now. And it's like, what are you talking about? You don't need to come, dude. Like, just do what you need to do. I was like, no, I want to come. Apart from anything else, I really want to.
I mean, there was quite a few of us that said, don't go.
Yeah, but I went because actually, for me personally, that day, I'd had a shit day dealing with a lot of stuff I didn't really want to have to deal with that needed to be dealt with. I couldn't think of anything I wanted to do more that evening than go and be the center of attention, not through what I'd been through, but because I was leading this meeting and I enjoyed doing that, socializing, seeing James, having a beer with a friend at the bar. All of that stuff actually is what I needed to do that night. The next morning, however, was a completely different story. My intention was, I was at 7 o'clock, I was like, ping, wide awake. So I was like, right, I'm going to get up and I'm going to, in my head, I was like, I'm going to do the washing up and clean the house and move things around and like reset and get everything, and actually I got up, I ran the water to do the washing up and I started crying, and then that was it. And from then until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was either crying or drinking water to make up for the fact that I was losing fluids. And that's pretty much all I did until 1 o'clock that afternoon. I just experienced how I was feeling. Then come 1 o'clock, I was like, right, I've got nothing left now. I'm done. And so then I threw away his old sofa, which was like his spot, rearranged the house so there wasn't like a hole where he used to be, cleaned everything from top to toe, and just did all the stuff that needed to happen to kind of get to a place of, right, it's done now. For me, and in fact, at that point, I put on some ska music that he used to enjoy listening to, that we'd listen together to at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I put that on. I was actually singing and dancing while I was doing the housework, and there was a brief moment where I felt guilty for that. But something I always say, especially people going through grief and difficult situations, is however you feel at any given time is exactly how you should feel. When you lose someone, sometimes there's a big sense of relief because you don't need to look after them anymore and they're not suffering anymore. And then you feel guilty for feeling relieved. And it's like, no, actually, all of this is perfectly justified, as is feeling guilty for feeling the way that you're feeling, interestingly enough. So I kind of had a word with myself, and went, no, you carry on. Like, he wouldn't want me to be miserable forevermore. I'd done that bit. That's not to say that there won't potentially be other times when it hits me again and where I'm reminded of that. But I'd done that and was then able to celebrate life and move forward from it positively. That we were supposed to be wrapping this up, and I've just gone on a complete rant.
No, that's it's so true as well, though. I think. Yeah, and I did the same. If you think back to February when I put my pony down, and then I literally got home and just sobbed and sobbed. And I remember you texting saying, "Do you want to talk it through?" And I was like, it won't make any difference. What I need to do now, I was like, I will just keep crying at you. What I need to do is just cry. And then, like you, I then drove down to Northampton and went out for the comedy evening, because actually I needed to go and be with you and Ali and my friends and actually have some laughter and have you try and force me to eat when I didn't want to eat. But it's that thing, isn't it? It's like letting it go, having that process with it, and so many people bottle grief, and I did it when my mum died.
Yeah, it's letting it go in the way that's right for you as well, because some people won't want to be with other people. But again, that cleansing process that Duncan was talking about then is actually really important when it comes to grief, because so many of us, we like to hold on to those memories, and we like to hold on to this and hold on to that and hold on to the other and keep things the way that they were. But actually, that's unhelpful for us moving forwards. moving into the future of our own life in that different way that will then be running our life. So, you know, and I talk very openly because my mum's got dementia, and she's at that stage where she hadn't known my name for 3 years. If she calls me Deborah, it's like a miracle. I think my dad's told her to say it. So, you know, I'm just that lovely lady who makes her smile or sings with her and things like that. But my mum's at that point where she's losing all of the faculties. She's losing all of her normal motor ability. And actually, if this were an animal, we would put an animal down at that stage, like you were saying with your pony. We don't do that with people. We can't do that with people. So I'm quite open and honest with the fact that actually that will be the best step for my mum when it comes, when that comes, and it will be a relief for mum, because I know that in her right frame of mind, she didn't want to be like this. I know she didn't, because we had conversations about it when I was younger. It'll be a relief for me and my dad, because we won't need to care for anymore. But we do know that there will be grief with that, because at the end of the day, she's mum, she's wife, but she's not been that person for at least the last 5 years. She's not been the mum that we know. She's not, you know.
See, at the start of lockdown, when I did a live with Sarah, we spoke about how grief is basically what everyone is, a big part of what everyone's been going through. So we spoke about the journey that you take. One thing that I didn't cover then, which actually makes a lot of sense now, is that what tends to happen is you do get to that point where you've got over the worst of the grief. You're now able to move forward. You've done your acceptance, and that's great. And then a period of time down the line, it's normally 18 months. That's the period you anticipate and look for. But of course, it is different for everyone and in every situation. And I think with the way that lockdown's gone, people have, particularly with Osborne, really accepted it and then accelerated and gone, wow, this is brilliant. And now with the additional uncertainty, I think this is the point where one of the reasons that everyone's starting to feel a bit again now is that it's that come down from the wave where they're going, oh, right.
It's the dip.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Sarah, what was the Kubler-Ross model what is it that you call the dip in the Kubler-Ross
The Valley of Despair.
The Valley of Despair, yeah.
It's I can't take credit for it. It's Duncan's. Duncan's talk.
Oh, is that
Duncan? But do you know what? You've both highlighted perfectly, and I know James and I have this as well, is that actually everybody has something going on. And no matter how positive you are, how smiley you come across, how much you seem to have your shit together and be able to support everyone else, actually everybody has got stuff going on in the background that they're dealing with or moving over. And it's really easy to go, well, my life's really shit because of this. It's all right for them. They haven't got that stuff going on. It's okay. They're successful or they're moving forward because they haven't got that going on. Actually, everybody has got something going on and they're just trying to carry on regardless of it. So it's tough, and it is tough, and you absolutely need to allow yourself that time to grieve, allow yourself that time to cry, allow yourself to put your life on hold like you're having to a little bit, Debs, but there's still so much you can do to move forward. And I think that's really important. And you know, actually it just shows that even in silly hats and badges we can do sensible sometimes.
Absolutely. So, on the subject of moving forward, I'm off to go and move myself forward some more.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for joining in. Let's do this again soon, and we will I love the hearts. Catch up with you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.